All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking one of the most famous, frequently quoted, and, let's be real, probably the most deeply misunderstood verses in human history. We are going to look at the history, the linguistics, and the psychology behind a tiny, six-word phrase that has literally warped the way we talk about morality today. Judge not, lest ye be judged. You've definitely heard it, right? It's basically a universal cultural catchphrase. Almost everyone, totally regardless of their religious background or whether they've even cracked open a Bible, knows this one. It pops up everywhere, in casual conversations, in those superheated internet debates, and all over cultural commentary. It's kind of become this universal shield we throw up. But hold on a second, because this raises a super fascinating question for us. Is this actually the most misused phrase in history? I mean, when Jesus originally spoke these words, did he really mean that we just can't tell right from wrong anymore? Did he literally intend for us to just suspend all moral evaluation? Section 1. The most misunderstood slogan, a cultural defense. Section 2. Relativism versus legalism, two extreme views. To figure out how we got here, we've got to look at the two polar opposite ways modern society completely twists this verse. So on one side, we've got moral relativism. Secular culture loves to use judge not to justify absolute, uncritical tolerance, basically silencing any kind of ethical critique. In this camp, all behaviors just have to be unconditionally affirmed. But then, on the exact opposite side, we have ecclesial legalism. This is where some religious communities weaponize their discernment to hypocritically gatekeep and rigidly police behavior. And the crazy thing is, both of these extremes, absolute permissiveness on one hand and a rigid condemnation on the other, completely miss the original historical intent. Section 3. The meaning of krino. Looking at the Greek. Okay, so to really grasp what Jesus was saying, we have to look at the original Greek. The absolute crucial point here is the word krino. Now, krino is tricky because it has a dual meaning. On one hand, it simply means to discern, to decide, or to evaluate. Totally normal, right? But on the other hand, it means to condemn, to presume this arrogant moral appraisal, and to treat someone with judgmental contempt. If you zoom out and look at the broader context of Jesus' life, he was constantly evaluating situations and calling out harmful behavior. So he wasn't telling his listeners to stop discerning light from dark. He was warning them against condemning others. Basically, stop playing God. Section 4. The speck and the log. Absurd metaphors. This whole tension between making a righteous judgment and just being arrogantly dismissive, it's brilliantly shown through human behavior in a famous historical interaction from the Gospel of Luke. We have Simon the Pharisee, a strict religious leader, watching a woman with a pretty bad reputation, washing Jesus' feet with her tears and expensive perfume. Simon immediately judges her based entirely on outward appearances. His internal thoughts condemn her. He decides right then and there she is completely unworthy. But Jesus, he gently flips the script and exposes Simon's own inner lack of love and hospitality. Simon was so busy counting this woman's visible flaws that he was completely blind to his own. He was practicing condemnation, not discernment. And that leads us right into what is, honestly, a famously absurd metaphor from Jesus. I mean, seriously, picture this. You're trying to perform delicate eye surgery to remove a tiny speck of dust from your friend's eye, but you have a massive 2x4 wooden beam sticking straight out of your own face. It's ridiculous, right? The order of operations here is absolutely everything. Step 1, notice the giant log in your own eye. Step 2, remove it through honest repentance. It's only in step 3, after you've actually dealt with your own glaring flaws, that you're equipped to gently help your brother with his tiny speck. Fun fact, the Greek word for hypocrite literally translates to an actor wearing a mask. So Jesus is basically saying, hey, take off the mask of perfection first. Section 5, wisdom and the golden rule, relational psychology. Now, shift your perspective with me for a minute, because this idea doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It is deeply rooted in ancient wisdom literature that the original audience would have known like the back of their hands. These ancient proverbs prove that discernment is really a situational art. It takes prudence. Proverbs 1 tells us discernment starts with humility and reverence before God. Proverbs 9 warns that you got to know who you're correcting, because a wise person loves correction, but a scoffer hates it. And Proverbs 26 famously gives two totally contradictory commands back to back. Answer not a fool according to his folly, and answer a fool according to his folly. Why would they do that? Because true wisdom isn't some rigid one-size-fits-all rule. You have to read the room, understand the context, and apply your moral evaluation super thoughtfully. And that brings us to the relational psychology at the core of all this, the golden rule. Think about it. How do you want people to approach you when you drop the ball? When you mess up big time? You probably want fairness, kindness, maybe a little grace, right? Well, that is the ultimate framework for gentle, empathetic correction. You are still discerning that a mistake was made, sure, but your response is totally driven by how you would want to be treated if you were in that exact same vulnerable position. Section 6, Restorative Discernment, a new framework. Let's synthesize all of this into a brand new framework. Here is your first huge takeaway. The goal of Judge Not isn't to just stop evaluating actions altogether. It's to stop playing God. As finite human beings, our vision is almost always clouded by our own biases and flaws. We have to practice discernment, recognizing what's good from what's bad, but without crossing that dangerous line into harsh, final condemnation of a person's worth or their soul. And our second big takeaway is all about the purpose behind our judgment. Any moral evaluation we make has absolutely got to be rooted in deep humility. When we do actually need to correct someone, the goal should never, ever be to shame them or to just win an argument or to show off our own moral superiority. This singular goal has to be healing and restoring that other person. It's about pulling the speck out gently so they can see clearly again, not poking them in the eye just to prove you've got better vision. Which leaves us with this final, kind of provocative thought to chew on. The text explicitly warns that whatever measure you use to judge others, that exact same measure is going to be used right back on you. It's a completely reciprocal reality. So the very next time you find yourself evaluating a friend, a coworker, or, let's be honest, some total stranger on the internet, what measure will you be using? Is it going to be the heavy weight of condemnation or the restorative measure of grace? The choice is entirely up to you.